Growing up, I had always been a big fan of the king of the monsters, Godzilla. I still remember seeing the original classic in Japanese, and to this day, I consider it to be one of the best movies ever made, with the special effects being fantastic for their time period. I even became a die-hard fan of the classic NES title Godzilla Monster of Monsters, and while it wasn't the greatest representation of the king, it was more than enough to keep me playing throughout my entire childhood. So when I heard that a brand new Godzilla game was being released for the modern console generation, I eagerly awaited its release. That is, until I heard it was going to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive. For those of you who know me, you know that I've been an Xbox guy since the OG console was released back in 2001. And this is largely due to my favorite franchise, Halo, being an Xbox exclusive. So when I found out that Godzilla would only be on the PS4, I was heartbroken. Until recently, that is, when I finally got my hands on a PS4 console. I couldn't wait to download this hidden gem. Then I came across my second major hurdle. The game wasn't available for download on the PSN store. But how could this be? I had been waiting for years to finally be able to play this game. So my online search began, only to find that this game was so rare I'd be spending hundreds of dollars just to purchase it. I bit the bullet and shelled out over $300 for the game, loaded it up on my PS4 Pro, and waited with anticipation for the Godzilla splash screen to light up my television so I could finally play. And that's when the game started. Initially, I was impressed by the look of the various kaiju that appeared in the game's opening cinematic sequence. I mean, the graphics weren't perfect, but this is Godzilla we're talking about here. It's supposed to look at least a little bit cheesy, right? Then I loaded up the game's God of Destruction mode. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, this mode is the closest thing the game has to a campaign. It starts you off in glorious black and white when Godzilla originally surfaces in Japan, and from there, he wreaks complete havoc on the city. The more he destroys, the larger he grows in size. After this relatively short introduction to the game, the timeline fast forwards to the present, where a substance known as G-energy, originating from Godzilla himself, is being harvested to power civilization. Your first goal is simple. Destroy the first power generator you come across, and that's it. Destroy one building, and the mission is over. As the campaign progresses, it doesn't branch away from this pattern very much. You'll have 1 to 3 generators to destroy, and usually another kaiju will show up along the way. Admittedly, I had fun with this cycle for the first 20 minutes or so, but after that it became boring, repetitive, and tiresome. Perhaps this is one of the major pluses for the campaign not being very long, only taking about 45 minutes or so to complete. You can choose your difficulty level as you progress, but I highly recommend steering clear of the hard mode until you become more familiar with the combat. The next mode I tried was King of Kaiju. This is by far the most fun I had with the game, as it pits you up against 6 different monsters and times you on how fast you're able to take them down. But even this mode can get a little sloppy, as I ended up fighting Mechagodzilla twice in a row, spanking him both times. I then gave the multiplayer a whirl, and of course, being completely new to the game, I got my butt handed to me by Rodan. I more or less predicted that that would happen considering how old the game is, and odds are there aren't that many new players online in this day and age. The game also has a Diorama Mode where you can pick which monsters fight as well as where the battle takes place. This is a great idea in theory, but until you face a particular kaiju in God of Destruction mode, you won't be able to access the creature at all. This to me is one of the more heartbreaking features of the game, as I can see near limitless fun being had with this if at least most of the creatures were available to play from the get-go. But no! You have to grind out the game's boring campaign multiple times if you want access to all the different creatures the game has to offer. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I read the other reviews of this game in advance, so I knew at least slightly what I was in for, but it's still disappointing nonetheless when you consider all of the great Godzilla games that came before it. This was a rather expensive review for me to write, and I wouldn't recommend anyone else go on the same route that I did. The graphics of the various kaiju look fine, but everything else seems so subpar when compared to other releases for the time period. I do love the OST to an extent, but it's just not enough to save the game. My personal recommendation is not to buy the game. I can't even recommend renting it because if you want to unlock all the kaiju, you'll need to invest some serious time in playing this game. And for that, I'll say don't play Godzilla for the PlayStation 4 unless it's a freebie. So, I won't ask whether or not you've played this game. If you have, you can certainly share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, but I'd rather ask you this. What is your favorite Godzilla movie and kaiju? What was your first Godzilla movie, and how long have you been a fan? What's your favorite Godzilla game? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, and I'd like to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy day to sit down and watch this video. I do hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing for more great content right here on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful week. I'll catch you all right back here next time, and as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.